Next guy up I want to talk about here is going to be DK Metcalf. I don't see DK as a breakout guy. I do not. I do see him as being a guy that'll be up at 1,400 yards. Why is he not a breakout guy? Because he's already been at 1,300 yards before. You can't really say DK is breaking out when he's kind of hit that mark. But do I see him getting to 1,400 yards, maybe even pushing to 1,500? Potentially so, yes. And much like the previous point, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, you are going to have an offense that within its spread concepts is going to have dedication towards the chunk play and hitting it deep. I also think there's going to be better ways Grubb has to deal with the incessant double teams that DK Metcalf has to deal with that sometimes removes his effectiveness deep because teams just know they can, for instance, trust their front seven to handle the run game and they can keep their safety over the top and they don't have to bring him up to help and he can just kind of subtly slide to DK post snap. They can do that and they get away with that partly because of the ineffectual nature of the run blocking up front. I'm going through Ravens tape for an eventual stream we're going to do on how Mike McDonald took down the offense last year, the Ravens at home, and what he did to our offense. And something that stands out so often in stopping the run with that Ravens team last year and in the game against the Seattle Seahawks is that they would have 7-man boxes. It was not heavy fronts that was stopping the run. They could keep and dedicate that safety on the back end to just slightly spinning him towards DK. And if you can just remove some of that just a little bit, DK's effectiveness is going to go up so much more. The targeting of the middle of the field. There'll be another player I talk on this list about that also gets to benefit from this, but more of a targeting of the middle of the field. Anytime you ran a slant route to DK, it seemed like. Anytime you ran a post route to DK, it seemed like it was an easy completion there to be had. It just didn't seem like the team was committed to attacking those routes. And those are the type of routes that you go, when you're 32nd in the league at target middle of the field, those are the type of routes that are getting ripped out of the playbook. And I think those kind of routes are going to be put back into the playbook here a little bit more so. And so it's a bit of both of those two concepts working together. I think some of it is just the balance of allowing DK at times to get the one-on-one matchups that you just aren't able to give him. It's not always the pure double team, but it's just always that safety there, even if it's a single high safety, who's just always kind of pulled over to his side of things. And I think Grubb is a guy that if he sees you doing that, something that stands out in his offense is, if I see you leaning a certain way, I'll go and attack that other way and I'll make you play it legit. I'll make you have to not just get to kind of cheat on this play over to one side because you think you can get the job done over here with less guys. It's not the way it's going to work. A big thing that's come up in the DK Metcalf discussions in regards to this situation with him this offseason and some of the discussions that I've had with people in my comment section within my chat is to sometimes go to like the one stat on a player. And you can kind of grab one stat on a player, pull it out and say, okay, well here, this stat shows really what his effectiveness is or isn't as a player. And this has happened with DK for me this offseason a couple of different times. When people go to the target rate, when people go to his catch percentage, I don't want to throw away catch percentage as not being something that has a level of merit to it. But the thing that has come up at times I see here is that sometimes people will lean just on the stats only, and then there's no marrying back to the tape. Just here's this one stat. Well, yeah, but when I watch the games, there's this and this. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about in a second here with some actual game footage to show you exactly, to illustrate what I'm meaning on this. But the targets and the catch percentage is just not merely on the wide receiver. It's not merely that every time that a quarterback drops back to throw to a receiver, that the second that ball leaves that quarterback's hands, he's done his part. Now it's all on the receiver, which is a little bit of what I have sometimes pushed to me on this whole catch percentage thing, which is not a drop rate stat. It's separated of that. And is it a stat to pay attention to, important to a degree? There's so many manufactured touches in this sport in this day and age. I'd argue that it's more about just making sure you're getting a high number of targets to your number one wide receiver. And I'd argue that if you're in a full season like last year and you're only getting 119 targets to your number one wide receiver, that's probably not enough in itself. But the fact that you only converted 66 of those 119 targets doesn't mean that then, he was dropping stuff or he wasn't catching stuff. And again, like I said, let me go and show you a few just illustrations on this, both from a statistical perspective, advanced statistical perspective, but then also I want to show you guys a little bit on this in regards to, it's off the board here, a little bit off this, in regards to what I think DK is sometimes dealing with. Week 1 here against the Rams. Geno throws it. That's a target to DK. Okay? That's a 9-route target to DK. Did Geno give him any opportunity on this throw to make a catch? I'll keep running it. Is there any opportunity on this throw for DK to make this catch? No, there's not. You could argue the safety can't get back in on this play. He's late. If Geno just puts this out in front of DK on this throw, you're at least giving DK a chance. Those people that tell me that he doesn't have a good catch rate can have a little bit more bluster, a little bit more to their point at that point. But the issue is that we keep going through this season, and I didn't even have to dig deep to find these clips. That's on DK. Just remember, folks, that's completely on him here. He's thrown 10 feet over his head, but, that's DK there. So when you look at catch percentage as your only stat tracker for what dictates your usefulness for a wide receiver, let's say, you're going to miss plays like this, because that's a complete negative on that stat to DK then. But there's nothing he could have done on this play. He didn't do anything wrong. And you notice how you end up on this play with 3 Rams players all around DK. Odd how much attention he seems to attract, isn't it? I wonder if we can maybe pull some of that attention away. I wonder if there's some creative solutions for a really good offensive coordinator to find a way to not have 3 guys on your number 1 receiver down near the goal line. But so many throws last year that stood out to me with Geno down by the goal line to DK especially, where he just was not giving him any opportunities on these throws. You got a gargantuan receiver with one of the biggest catch radiuses we've ever seen in football. Give him a shot. And maybe Geno was being coached not to give him a shot in some of those places. I don't know. But I do know that that's not on DK. Here we go against the Bengals. Drop back. 9 route. DK does everything he can to make this catch. Sorry, I can't run these clips like super long with the algo. But he drags his foot. You can see the rubber kicking up from the back of his feet. But Geno again slides this ball just a little bit too outside. And on this play, Geno does have to worry about the safety. So you got a little bit more, you give Geno a little bit more slack on this one where the safety's not behind. He's going to arrive there to try to light DK up. But it's a matter of a ball being about 1.5 yards too far out of bounds first, giving DK a real true chance here. DK tries to drag his feet, makes the grab, does everything he can. Is that on DK there? Has he done something wrong there in that play? Should we look at him as being penalized, or a stat that would penalize him on that play and give that weight? Or again down here, I mentioned the goal line issues and Geno's weird throws at the goal line. They completed this a couple times over the course of the year, including the Giants game. This little sprint out. But he puts this again 2 yards outside of DK's grip for where he can catch it. Just a missed throw by Geno. And Geno made a lot of great throws. This isn't a bang on Geno here. It's just to say that DK can't do anything about these kind of throws from his perspective. So we can't lean on that stat. And I do think that these things are going to improve when there's a little more purpose to how they use DK and how he is attacking. Go back here to the Bengals game. This one, nothing either of the 2 guys can do on this play. Nothing either of them can do. Geno gets lit up, ball gets knocked. That's a target to DK. Do we want to penalize him on this stuff? Or do we want to try to make sure that we're using stats like that and marrying it up with what we're seeing on the tape? And the tape is littered with the stuff to DK last year. As I said, I didn't have to dive deep into find stuff like this. This is even just through the first part of the year. Another 9 route, ball comes in late. DK catches it with one arm. Boom, boom. Geno does that one extra hitch there on that play. If Geno on the first hitch here, if he goes right, boom, out. But he kind of bounces into it, which lets the defender catch back up into the play. DK catches it with one hand, but you've allowed the defender to catch back up here. He doesn't have a chance to do anything with this catch. This is a ball with Geno with, I'm sure coaching tape would be, put this to the back pylon. Instead, he kind of hits it to the midpoint. Layer it up over the top there for your guy a little bit and throw it a little bit earlier. There's one little extra hitch that Geno kind of makes there, and he's trying to kind of softly put it into the spot, but that little softly put it in the spot cost his man having the chance to clear it. It's not enough room down at that point. They have like 20 yards, I think, down the end zone, so it's not like you have a lot of extra field there to work with. Back again, Carolina game. This is, again, when we talk about targets and being penalized, another throw where he can't even, there's not even an ability to jump up and throw it. It's 3 feet over his head. What's he supposed to do? So I'm not going to belabor this point. I know I've probably already hammered it into the ground a little bit, but this is one that I've been hearing about recently, people trying to draw upon is the target rate to reception rate and how it's not holding up with DK. And when I go back and actually watch this all 22 tape and look at DK last year on these targets, it just doesn't add up. But like I said, I have some extra statistical backing to this one, so I can really hopefully kind of nail this case down for you folks that might be a bit on the fence on this one. We go back to 2023. I do like this site. They give you a little bit of more indication about what's going on, what isn't going on, catchable passes. Kind of, I think an important stat we're considering on this, isn't it? Isn't this what I'm exactly driving to is, okay, you're getting targeted, but how many times are you being targeted with actual catchable passes where you can convert them? I'd say that this is probably a little bit more of an accurate point to go from. So you have CeeDee Lamb with 143 targeted catches last year, 135 receptions. Tyreek with 131. He converts it with 119 receptions here, as you can see. So it's games to receptions, but it's the catchable passes that is the one that I want you guys to kind of lock in on this. So when we come down to DK, who's right here, we have DK under the catchable passes at 74. Okay, so how many of those catchable passes did he convert into actual catches? 66. Okay. So that doesn't look as much, does it? Like there's a problem there with, from DK's perspective on somehow. I'm not saying DK's got amazing hands or he's the most strongest hand receiver in the group, but okay, there's that's interesting. Let's go to the previous year, 2022. Let's again look at the catchable passes. We have DK a little bit higher up on this one. He's got 101 catchable passes. 101. Converts that into 90 catches on those 101 catchable passes. So again, there doesn't appear to be a very big discrepancy here. There doesn't seem to be something with it where he's dropping the ball. No pun intended. So when I showed you that last stat there for 2022 and you're looking at the 141 targets, only 101 of them are catchable balls. And that's got to be, if we've got extra data to kind of better isolate these numbers and kind of take a look at them. But again, I don't think these numbers are going to persist under Grubb. I think that DK has been ready to kind of explode here for a while. I think he's going to benefit like a lot of these offensive players here this upcoming season who are going to be able to benefit from having more time on the field, where your defense isn't just living on the football field, that they're getting off more occasionally. There might be some more big plays from the defense. I'm not saying the defense is going top 5, top 10, but I'm just saying there'll be more 3 and outs. More opportunities for an offense to get out there and find their footing and not have to be having been off the field for almost a full quarter and now having to come on there and kind of find their get up and go, so to speak.